This is Amy Bearpaw Piper with Standing Rooted. Many times I've been asked, what is prayer? What is meditation? And I think it's a really good question to explore. So I thought we would talk about that today. Prayer and meditation are going to be different for different people. That's been my experience. Different people have different purposes in their prayer and their meditation. Some people are more geared toward prayer and some toward meditation, and some like a combination of both. I personally find that both can be valuable at different times. So what I'd like to do is share some ideas with you. These are ideas that I've gathered over 25 years of teaching prayer and meditation with other people, and many, many more years of practicing myself. I call it sacred play because for me it's just a great pleasure most of the time. So I'd like to share a few ideas, and let's just begin with what prayer and meditation is in a really overall sense. So I would say that they are focusing your attention with intention, with intent, with purpose. You have a purpose in mind. And it may seem to you that the purpose is obvious, or it may not be obvious to you, because there actually are quite a few purposes that people come to prayer and meditation for. Some come for a sense of quiet, peace, harmony, a sense of relaxation and rebooting their system. We come for inspiration, for a sense of connection, a deeper connection within ourselves, a deeper, more meaningful connection with others, or a sense of deep connection with the divine, with that which is greater than ourselves, however we think about that. We might come for inspiration and creativity, or for healing. For some of us, prayer and meditation are more meaningful when shared with other people. For some, when shared in the context of nature. And for some, it's just being alone wherever you are. Many of us have a sort of a power place, a sacred place that we like to be that helps us to focus our intention well in the ways that we want to. Many of us can connect more easily when we remember a specific being. A friend of mine who was once a nun, she speaks of Saint Teresa and her connection with Saint Teresa helping her to feel deeply connected with the divine. So if we're thinking of prayer, my view, and yours may be different, I'm offering ideas here for you to consider, is that prayer is speaking. It's offering, not necessarily speaking out loud, but speaking something that's in your heart. So you might be talking to the divine. You might be pouring out pain or frustration. You might be expressing a sense of neediness or longing. You might be offering a request, something that you want or need in your life. You might be offering gratitude. Each one of these are ways of being in prayer. Not necessarily all the ways of being in prayer. So what happens for us, or what can happen for us when we do speak from the heart to the divine? One thing is that we empty. Our heart can get full. It can get full of troubles or worries or confusion or concerns. It can even, strangely enough, get full of ideas. It can get full of joy or happiness to the point where we forget about the divine. And so sometimes even pouring out our happiness is a way of being in relationship with the divine instead of just showing up when we need something. Just like any other good friend, when you only show up when you need something, then it's not the best mutual friendship, perhaps. So you want to show up not only when you need something, not only when you're sad or troubled or unhappy or grieving, but also sharing your happiness and your gratitude for this connection. My experience is that when I go to the divine and I pour myself out, something that sometimes happens automatically, just imagine how when you push your breath out, that your body automatically breathes some air in. It just happens automatically. You almost can't stop it. So when you breathe out toward the divine, when you breathe out of your heart, whether you're speaking out loud or whether you're speaking internally, there's almost an automatic intake of divine qualities. And those qualities are things that we know are real, even though they're intangible. Things like courage and wisdom, insight, inspiration, caring, strength, compassion. And these are qualities that we need for ourselves. And when we pour out our hearts, sometimes that automatic reaction of taking something in will bring in what we need, even if we don't know what it is. Perhaps if I'm pouring out my grief, a measure of comfort comes to me in that automatic intake of breath or intake of the divine. You know that when you speak with a very good friend, even if that friend is just listening quietly, that somehow we receive something from that friend. It's as if we're breathing in, even as we're breathing out, talking to them. So that's one way of thinking about prayer. So let's move to meditation. Sometimes people are a little concerned about the word meditation because they associate it with a religion that's not their own. And that's perfectly understandable. However, let's talk about what meditation actually is, and then you can find a name for it perhaps that is suitable, that feels aligned with what's true for you, and that aligns with your religious tradition and beliefs. And I'm not suggesting this as a sort of playing with words, a pretense that something is something else, but just to recognize that, um, what meditation really is, and then we'll realize, I think, that we see figures in each of the major each of the major religions who are meditating. Because if meditating is listening, it's listening deeply. It's even in that moment that I was just suggesting, where when you push the breath out and you automatically breathe back in a little bit, when you speak to the divine from the heart, you automatically receive a little bit from the divine. And so you're listening in that moment, in that automatic intake. There's a receiving, a listening, a taking in. That's meditation. So sometimes we can pray and pour out our heart, and then we can just be silent and focus our attention upon paying attention and see what happens. And this is just something you can explore and play with. We're just seeing what happens. A lot of times we get an idea of what we want to happen in meditation. And that's true. We have a preference. I mean, maybe we've gone into meditation, into listening before, and we've experienced something that was really wonderful, restorative, peaceful, connecting, harmonizing, inspirational. And because of that, we want to have that experience every time that we listen. And sometimes when we listen, what we hear first are thoughts that are not pleasant thoughts. Maybe it is an untrue thought about ourselves, an unkind thought about ourselves or another that may or may not even be true or have any truth in it, but it's painful. Maybe we just get anxious and fidgety because we're so used to paying attention to objects in the environment and moving around that when we're not really paying attention to something specific, we can get kind of fidgety. And for that reason, many ways of meditation offer something that you can focus on, but it's focusing in a listening kind of way. For example, you might focus on a flame. You might notice the flicker and the light. You might become aware of the heat and the warmth of the flame and find yourself just dropping deeper inside of yourself into a stillness. You might have noticed that when you were at a campfire or a bonfire that you're kind of drawn to just gaze into the fire, and you sort of get a little quieter within, and maybe the people talking or singing around the fire sort of fade into the background. Another form of meditation is to pay attention to your breath. So just letting yourself breathe in a comfortable way. It's sort of a regular breath in, a regular breath out, and you just pay attention. And in that focus upon the breath, you might find yourself dropping into a place of stillness and connection. So I know that when we began, I talked about the word intention. So let's take a look at that word again. Your intention is your purpose. It's what you want, what you intend. It's sort of like keying in your destination into the GPS of your car. So that's your intention. This is my destination. This is my intention. And then if you have a driver that you really trust that's following the GPS, then you get to sit in the back seat. You've set the GPS. You trust the driver's navigation and driving ability. And so you can just sort of sit in the back seat and relax. Just sort of watch. And sometimes we're in the back seat, we really do feel relaxed. Sometimes we're a little fidgety. Sometimes we're excited about our destination. There's all kinds of, experiences that we might have as we're sitting in the back seat, but we don't have to worry about that. We can just have that experience. Like, oh, I'm excited. I have this driver taking me to the beach or, wherever you want to go. And you're excited about it, or you're feeling peaceful, or you're tired and you're able to just relax. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to worry about anything in that moment. So I've been asked from time to time, like, how do I know what I'm listening to? Like, if an idea arises, or an inspiration, or a thought, an emotion, how do I know what I'm listening to? That's a really great question. So part of what you're listening to has to do what you're listening for. It's the intention that you set. So if you set the intention that you want to be more connected emotionally, then you might begin to experience emotions. And we experience emotions, of course, in different ways. Like you might have a sensation in your body of that emotion, or you might feel emotional energy moving through you. You might have a memory of emotion. You might have a thought about emotion. So because you've set an intention, you're listening for something. If you've requested to deepen your relationship with the divine, however you think of the divine, something that's greater than yourself, something that is positive, something that is a powerful and positive influence in the world and in your life, then that's probably what you're going to hear. Again, I think that sometimes there's a concern, because if I'm listening for that which is a positive, powerful influence in my life, maybe one of the things that I experience first that comes to my attention is what is not powerful or positive in my life. It's like as if I've set my GPS to a certain destination, but I have to get there. And maybe there's some tall grass and bushes that I have to move through before I can get to that destination. So first, what might come to my attention is a sense of disconnection, which can be very painful for us, very difficult. Maybe there's a memory of an old relationship that was hurtful or even seemed harmful in our lives. Maybe there is a thought about ourselves that keeps us from feeling good enough to trust the connection with the divine or with ourselves. And when that happens, it might leave us wondering if listening within, listening deeply, is a good thing or a bad thing. And again, that's a very good inquiry. So let's just explore that inquiry for a moment. If I want to go to the beach where I feel connected and relaxed, joyful, where I've had wonderful holidays in the past, but yet I'm going to have to pass through a swamp to get there. And maybe if there's been a lot of rain and the road is covered over with the swamp, maybe you see an alligator. Maybe there's a smell that you don't like. Maybe you feel some fear. So here's the inquiry. Does that mean that going to the beach where you find joy and peace and connection is a bad idea? Or does it mean that you just need to gain the skill to know how to get past the water-covered road, past the alligator? In this case, perhaps, how do we handle the negative thought or the hurtful emotion? And there are very specific, very simple skills to help us do those things. And those are skills that sometimes we don't learn growing up because maybe our parents and the people around us, our teachers, maybe they didn't have those skills themselves, or, they were doing the best they could, but didn't have those skills, so they couldn't really model them or teach them. They couldn't pass them on. So now we may have to do a kind of remedial study, but this is our birthright. It is our birthright to know how to navigate through the swamps and the alligators to get to the beach. Obviously, the beach is not every single person's sacred place, but I'm using that as an example, and I think most of you, even if that's not your place, you'll know where your place is. Perhaps it's the mountaintop. Perhaps it's in front of the hearth at your own home, your favorite chair, in your jammies, with your kids around, or your dog in your lap. And what gets in the way of you getting there? Sometimes to get home and be peaceful, we have to navigate traffic. We have to finish our work day, even though it's been a really tough day. Then we get on the road. Someone's had a wreck in front of us, and we're stuck in traffic. There's a snowstorm. It's hard to get home. Those are the obstacles that sometimes arise. But it doesn't mean that we lose sight of vision of connection. And it doesn't mean that it's wrong for us to head toward our sacred space where we can feel really deeply, truly, genuinely connected with ourselves, with our loved ones, and with the higher power that we trust and love, and who we believe trusts and loves us. And maybe you don't really have a connection with a higher power that you feel loves you and that you trust. And in that case, perhaps you could consider a person that you have loved or trusted, a favorite grandmother. It could even be someone who's passed on. It might be your pet. Again, it could be a place, the beach, the mountaintop, your favorite place in your own home. So that you can allow that to help you. You connect with that place, and you connect with the qualities that you're seeking of peace, security, harmony. The divine qualities that we know are real, even though they're intangible. So why do we go into meditation or listening deeply? Some of us go for insight. We can ask, we can speak a problem, or speak a desire. The desire would be your destination. The problem would be the obstacle on the way, the alligator on the way to the beach. So you can speak about the problem, or you can speak about the desire, the destination, or both. And then listen. And you're not necessarily listening for, like as if, I've got to hear something now. But you're just sort of being. And there are different ways to come into a state of being too. And there are some guided meditations, some guided inward focuses on this YouTube channel that can help you to do that if you don't have a way to do that for yourself yet. Or even if you do, it can help to be guided. And so then once you've spoken your problem and your destination, your desire, and then you're just listening, or you're just being present. You don't even have to really listen, you're just being present. And something may arise. Something may come to you in that moment. Or you might have opened a door into the place where that answer resides, where that inspiration or insight resides, and it comes to you shortly after you go back to the daily world. It may come to you in your mind. Someone may suddenly speak something that you go, oh, that's it. Or you just see something in the world that, it sparks recognition, and you realize that that's the response you were looking for. That's the insight, the inspiration. You might find that you're just more creative. We also go into meditation to rebalance. We can sort of reboot and reharmonize ourselves. We can have a sense of deep rest and relaxation that's very restorative, and that even allows our body to heal itself because it's not so focused, so it's not working hard in the world. So it has time to heal itself. The body has great intelligence. And when we give it time and a space, a place to heal itself, it will begin doing that. The same thing for our emotions. Our emotions might begin to heal when we're in that place of listening and stillness. So therefore we may go into meditation or inner focus or listening to increase our health and well-being. We may go in with another person or another group of people, and we find that we feel very connected with that person or that group of people for that time as we're sharing that listening together. And it can even deepen our sense of connection outside of our listening time. Sharing that can bring a sense of connection that lasts. It might bring a sense of resolution to interpersonal problems. So you might go into prayer and meditation time with your loved one when you're having conflict. And you might find that in your meditation, this may or may not happen. Sometimes it does, that it just sort of melts away. Or each of you receive an insight that helps you to reconnect. Listening deeply is a way to gain qualities like compassion and wisdom, power, empowerment, knowledge. It's a way to come to know yourself better and to have a sense of connection with your true nature, what some call your God presence, the inner divinity. It's a way to simply increase wisdom. So one of the things that I find is that a lot of times we feel like we need to do some kind of long meditation. We need to sit in a particular posture. We need to do it a certain way. We need to do it for a certain time or it's useless. And I really want to dispel that confusion because that's simply not true. Different kinds of meditation and different lengths of meditation have different purposes and different effects. So you can do a very long meditation where you go deep into stillness. It can be deeply restorative and give your body and mind a chance to heal and harmonize. And that place of stillness can then become deeply familiar because you've spent so much time there. Just like your home is very familiar to you if you spend a lot of time there, or your office if you spend a lot of time there. Wherever you spend a lot of time, it becomes a deeply familiar place. It's also really valuable to just spend a few minutes to even a few seconds focusing your attention in specific ways. It can help you to reboot in the middle of your day, to reharmonize, to reconnect within yourself, with other people, and with your sense of divine presence. It can help you to download a quality that's needed, like patience or empowerment. And if you check in a few seconds or a few minutes several times throughout your day, then you're going down that pathway many, many times so that the pathway becomes a familiar, a beaten trail, a beaten path. It's an easy path to walk because it's not all grown over. So you can play with this. Explore different ways to focus your attention inwardly, outwardly. You can do a few seconds. You can do a few minutes. You can do a long meditation of 30 minutes, an hour. You can even go on retreat and meditate for hours at a time for several days. My recommendation for most of us, we have really busy lives, most of us in our world, whether we're working from home, whether we're working out in the world, or doing both. So my recommendation is that you try to do some kind of meditation, whether a guided meditation can be super helpful. It can kind of help you to overcome the obstacles, the alligators that get in your way. So you can get to the place that you want to get, the place of stillness and connection, the place of inspiration and insight. That you do that like once a week. Maybe a 20 or 30 minute guided meditation, for example, once a week. You can do a guided meditation or any kind of meditation while you're walking. You can do a dancing meditation. If you're feeling that you're paying attention, that you're connecting, then that is a kind of meditation. There's a kind of meditation where someone actually can go into a deeply held sacred space with you and for you and help you to feel calm and relaxed, where you begin to be connected. And in that kind of meditation, you can even go to sleep. And this would be a trusted person, someone that you know has your well-being in mind and has the skill to hold this presence for you. It's like when a group of people pray for a person who's sick or going through hardship, or when that group of people meditate with an intention for this person to receive healing or comfort. So whether you're doing a walking meditation, a sitting meditation, whether you're dancing, whether you're doing Tai Chi or karate, whether you're doing yoga, whether you're listening to a guided meditation, whether you're jogging, I've even felt a sense of meditation when I was playing basketball. Just shooting over and over and being so focused. I wasn't necessarily focused upon the divine, but I was so focused upon my movement that I felt at one within myself and at one with the world around me. And that is a kind of meditation. Also, that can create an effectiveness in our lives and an enjoyment of an activity. So whatever kind of prayer, whatever kind of meditation you do, however long you choose to do it, Whether you choose the same time every day, the same kind every day, or whether you choose to explore and do different things at different times. I hope that you will find what works well for you to bring what you're seeking and what you're looking for. I wish all blessings to you and to those you care most about. This is Amy Bearpaw Piper with Standing Rooted.